And now, it's time for a Star Trek story. You know, Aren, we are podcasters. Takes a little bit of go-get-emness to do a podcast. You know, so as we've been doing this whole podcast, it's just got me thinking about this question. How valuable is ambition?
Invaluable.
Invaluable.
I would say. That's what keeps a species alive, for the most part.
Ambition?
Ambition.
Do you think other species are ambitious, or is this more like a human thing?
I think it's a human thing. I think it's like once your brain crosses into consciousness mode, then ambition comes into play, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if dolphins are ambitious. It seems like they're very close.
Yeah. It's interesting to just kind of think about where does ambition come from? And it is something we seem to value very greatly, certainly in our society. I see so many dating apps that will just like, what are your interests? And I'll just see like ambition.
In your word bubble, ambition's a big one.
Ambition.
That is an interest.
Yeah.
I like hobbies as well.
Okay. Well, let's see if Star Trek has anything to say about ambition. Humans do go out to the stars in Star Trek, which is fairly ambitious, I would say. Yes, of course. You are listening to Star Trek Stories, episode 31, The Best of Both Worlds. I, of course, am your supreme host, Jaron Hatch, and I'm joined here by my plush co-host, Aren Cole. Hello, Aren.
I'm plush.
I need a little Aren plushie.
Yeah, I would sell dozens of those.
Dozens. We are winding down our look at the TNG Renaissance. Last time we watched Menage a Troy, the second episode in our loosey-goosey twofer. One of the most infamous titles ever. My God. Menage
get away with it.
How do they get away with that? Menage a Troy.
Who greenlit that? Who said, yes, that's it?
Yeah, we introduced our good friend Ellen to Loxana and the Ferengi, and silly shenanigans abound. Well, today we have another returning guest host. In the captain's chair today, once again, we have my sibling on the show, the very lovely Aren Hatch. Hello, Aren.
Hello.
Aren, how the hell are you?
I'm great. I'm having a good Sunday, so...
Yeah, good Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for those new to the podcast, Aren is my youngest sibling. All of us Hatch siblings are hardcore Star Trek fans. That's basically all we ever talk about. Last time you were on, Aren, we watched Elan of Troyes. And oh boy, what an episode.
Are you going to give me a good episode this time?
No.
No. Best of both worlds, no good. Yes, I told you. I think I'd even told you next time we'll get you on for a good one.
Promise.
Yeah, thank you.
But
Thank you.
I think we had I listened to it recently, and we all had a blast. for how terrible it is, we all had a blast watching it.
It is enjoyable, even if it's terrible.
Terrible.
I remember all kinds of good feels coming from that episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so you're a hardcore Star Trek fan, Aren, I think it's safe to say.
Oh, yeah.
But unlike most hardcore fans, you are not the biggest Next Generation fan, relatively speaking.
Yeah, relatively speaking, yeah.
This is in the lower echelons for you.
Yeah, of the, of the shows before New Trek, it is at the bottom.
Yeah, this is always interesting to me because most people I know who are hardcore fans, TNG is at least a top 3, if not number 1.
Yeah, you want to talk about deifying Shakespeare. Talk about how people think about the Next Generation.
Next Gen, Patrick Stewart at Data, the whole thing. It's that is the show. So I'm curious, being a hardcore Star Trek fan who isn't the biggest fan of Next Generation, what is it about that? What's that about? What about the show? And not as a criticism. I genuinely love the show. TOS, TNG, DS9, these are all very close, they are leagues above everything else. They are all almost tied for first place for me. So I love Next Generation. So I'm curious, like, what is it? What doesn't grab you about the show that maybe some of the other ones do?
It has this very weird feeling, and I was trying to find a way to like explain it in a way that made sense, but I don't know. If you go to the hospital, you know that kind of weird, kind of sterile, kind of lifeless feeling.
Ironically, in a hospital.
It's like, yeah, in hospitals, it's kind of the feeling I get from TNG. There's the people, like, they definitely feel like they're from the future and not from this time at all, but they also feel a little like, not cardboardy, but like, they don't seem to have the same like interpersonal like conflicts and that like people have in the other shows that make them feel more human. Like you can still be, you know, from the future, from this utopia, and still have, you know, kind of interpersonal conflicts and things. And that's one of the reasons I love DS9 so much, is because that one feels really like real.
Shit happens on the promenade all the time.
Yeah.
That's so funny that you say that.
Yeah, so there's this kind of weird, kind of sterile feeling in TNG.
Like you're expected to be quiet in the halls when you're walking down. Like talking in, we're using all inside voices.
Walk. Jimmy, walk.
And I also, I really do not like the Enterprise D. The outside or the inside. And the inside, the color scheme and stuff really help with that feeling of it being like, I don't know, that weird hospital room feel. And it's like, I like the characters, I enjoy them, and there's some episodes, you know, that I like really, really enjoy. Like Darmok is one of my all-time favorite Star Trek episodes. And I love the first 3 TNG movies. But there's just something about the series itself. It's like, I have watched through it multiple times, but I still forget most of what happens in that show. It's like my brain just refused. Like, we don't need to remember this. This isn't important information. So
it's just deleted.
Wow. Yeah. Coming in with the hot takes. Like, I don't like the Enterprise D. I'm not crazy on the next gen characters. I like the movies.
Well, hey, I said I liked the characters.
They just don't.
They just.
Maybe not as relatable as you would like them to be.
Exactly. It is really hard for me to relate to them. They are. They feel a little too perfect. And I think that's one of the reasons why Worf is one of my favorite Star Trek characters. No, he is my favorite Star Trek character. What am I saying? It's like, yeah, he has problems. He's not that great, honestly. Even in TNG. He's a terrible father and stuff like that. And it's stuff like that which makes, like, drew me to him, as opposed to all these other people who are just like these like perfect sugar cookie people.
Yeah, I mean, and that is all for this incarnation very intentional on the part of Gene Roddenberry. He had this idea of not only did they live in a utopia, but that like human beings had evolved, and like we're dealing with evolved humans. I never had as much truck with that. I have no reason to think that humans would be more that different. I mean, if they lived in a better society, then yes, certainly. But in terms of the people themselves, just all across the board being better, that never quite rung true to me, even though I find all the characters. I find it interesting, and I find it because there's no other show that tries to do anything like that.
That's true. That is true.
Do you think there's any value in?
Oh, there's absolutely
trying?
value. Oh yeah, no, yeah. I think it's a good thing to try to explore and kind of even hope for. But that doesn't mean that it necessarily would connect with all audiences.
Sure.
Right.
So
you still got to make a show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With these perfect people.
Because the thing is, the most important thing about a show to me is characters. Like, you can have like the dumbest plot or the most boring plot, but if the characters are interesting and still manage to do interesting things within that plot, like, I'm there. So having these characters that I can't really relate to very much at all,
characters, the conflicts that they go to that helps them to grow, right?
Yeah.
And
So
how well the writers explore that. I feel like that's the sauce.
So they lose me a little.
Very understandable, and very gutsy to try to do something like that, even if it doesn't quite pan out as well as maybe. And as the show goes on, they slowly drift more from it, but they never escape it entirely. I guess that's a good segue into like the question we asked earlier. Very ambitious to try to do a show like this. What do you think the value, more generally speaking, what's the value in ambition?
Well, I would agree with Aren because it's, not to use corporate speak, but it is like one of like the great drivers just of life. And that's a lot of the reason we get stuff done. And obviously it can be used for bad, for ill, but I think it's like curiosity, but it's like taken to the next level. It's like
applied curiosity.
Yeah, it's like applied curiosity with like, it could have a little bit of a selfish like hint to it or whatever, but yeah, it's like next level curiosity.
Turning it into action.
Yeah. Especially when you're like applying it to yourself. It's just like, I'm curious about this, but I'm curious about what I could do or what I could be with regards to this, you know.
There's like a fire behind it too.
Yeah.
You know, because there's ambition, like the regular drive to get up and go to work and do what you have to do, but then there's the ambition to do what you want to do. When you find those moments, that's when it's the most useful to you.
And that is very Star Trek. It's like it's ambition to go out there and just see what they can do and like what they can find, what they can learn. And I really like that.
Star Trek always has things to say, and I'm sure it'll have some things to say on ambition. We are, of course, today watching The Best of Both Worlds. This premiered June 18th, 1990. This is the 26th episode produced for the third season, which makes it the season finale. The finale to the season that redefined Star Trek as we know it. This episode is the culmination of all of their efforts to revitalize and re-energize the show, which is what we've kind of been looking at these last few episodes, Aren. They wanted to make a big splash with this finale, and boy, would they. This is probably on the short list for greatest episodes of the entire Star Trek franchise. I think for a lot of people, this would probably be like a top 10er. If not like a top 5. And I know for lots of people, like this is the best episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Aren hates it.
Aren hates it.
No, I never said that.
Well, we're bringing you on for the best, one of the best, Aren, so we can try to convert you to the ways of TNG. Just to remind you that it's the best one.
I don't know if you can convert me by choosing an episode I already admit is great.
Well, at least we can like look and see what TNG really does well. So yeah, I think most would agree that this episode is like the episode that like cements the legacy of TNG. So we'll definitely be looking at that, seeing if the episode still lives up to the hype after all these years. This will also be like our first real in-depth look at Commander Riker. This is probably the definitive Riker story in the entire series, which is interesting because that is not usually the first thing people think about when they think about this episode. But this is the Riker story. So we'll also be talking about how this episode helps illuminate his character. All right. For those of you at home who are going to watch with us, Star Trek: The Next Generation is streaming on Paramount Plus. You can find it by bringing up Season 3, Episode 26, and we will be back after we watch The Best of Both Worlds.
What am I still doing here? Deanna, I pushed myself hard to get this far. I sacrificed a lot. I always said I wanted my own command, and yet something's holding me back. Is it wrong for me to want to stay?
What do you think?
Maybe I'm just afraid of the big chair.
I don't think so.
The captain says Shelby reminds him of the way that I used to be. And he's right. She comes in here full of drive and ambition, impatient, taking risks. I look at her and I wonder what happened to those things in me. I liked those things about me. I've lost something.
You mean you're older? More experienced? A little more seasoned?
Seasoned? It's a horrible thing to say to a man.
I don't think you've lost a thing. And I think you've gained more than you realize. You're much more comfortable with yourself than you used to be.
Maybe that's the problem. I'm too comfortable here.
I'm not sure I know what that means. You're happy here. Happier than I've ever known you to be. So, it comes down to a simple question. What do you want, Will Riker?
Well, we just got done watching The Best of Both Worlds. See Aren rocking out to the Hannah Montana song.
I was
there.
not. Totally unrelated song in my head than the Hannah Montana one.
Yeah, so in case you haven't seen this one, did not watch it with us, so basically what happens in this episode is that the Borg make their return. They have now invaded Federation space. There is like a Borg specialist who has come aboard to help them, Lieutenant Commander Shelby. We learned during all this that Riker has recently been offered his own command, and is basically planning to turn it down. We haven't seen this in the show, but this is like the third time they have offered him a captaincy, and the third time he's going to essentially turn it down. Lieutenant Commander Shelby, though, is coming aboard, and she is very much basically gunning for his job. And he is also thinking, yeah, why am I still on the Enterprise? So he's kind of in this kind of crisis of...
After the first two attempts, right? This is Starfleet's attempt to light a fire underneath Commander Riker's butt. and get him going on his path to becoming, a great Starfleet officer.
Yeah, the Admiral's like, kick him in the rear end, Captain Picard. Like,
Do what you got to do. He's stuck.
Of course, during all this, however, the Borg show up and end up kidnapping Captain Picard, leaving Riker in command of the Enterprise. And in their attempts to defeat the Borg or try to stop them, they learn that Captain Picard has been assimilated and been made Locutus of Borg, essentially a human mouthpiece for the Borg as they're planning their invasion of the Federation. And of course, we end on that famous cliffhanger note where Captain Picard as Locutus is basically giving the crew of the Enterprise their Borg ultimatum. Meanwhile, Riker has his finger on the trigger of their super weapon that's going to destroy the Borg. We get that last cliffhanger moment where he says, "Mr. Worf, fire." In one of the classic cliffhangers of all time.
Needs of the many.
Yeah, lots of crap going on. We'll start with initial thoughts. Aren, initial thoughts on watching the best of both worlds.
Oh, it's great. Last time I watched this, I was definitely more into the Borg aspect, but this time, maybe because of our conversations earlier, I was really focused on Riker, which I really liked, and it made me end up thinking, it's just like, oh yeah, the Borg are here, yeah, but like, Riker, can you just leave? Like, go, man. Why are you here?
So you think Riker should be going off and taking his own command?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially after the third time asking, it's like, bro.
Take a hint. Dude.
Picard even has that line, and the Enterprise will get along just fine without you. Okay, yeah, this time, like I said, the Riker stuff is not what people, I think the first thing that comes to people's heads when they think about this. It's more like the Borg stuff, especially Picard being assimilated, but the emotional conflict of this whole episode is all Riker, not really the Borg.
He's like he's the main character in this episode. It's a Riker episode.
It is a Riker episode.
Might be the Riker episode.
The Riker episode.
If that, not that, or his first episode with his dad.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a Riker episode.
Where they come to blows with their cage match.
Oh my gosh, they're
Ambo Jitsu. The ultimate evolution of the martial arts.
Is it though? Looking at their fight choreography, you're like, is it though?
Yeah, funny enough, that's the second time they offer him a command. Is that whole episode is about him, like he's essentially planning to go, and then he's like, no, I'm not going to.
That might be the penultimate Riker episode.
The penultimate, and this is the ultimate Riker episode. Yeah, Aren, initial thoughts coming off of the best of both worlds.
It reminded me of why I like Riker in the first place as a kid. He makes the calls. He gets it done. Right or wrong. He's got the guts, the gumption to do it. Like she said, like maybe someone who can make the big decisions should be in the chair or whatever.
He doesn't even hesitate making that big call at the end.
His captain is captured and he's like, fire, clutch. Right? That's the right thing to do by the book. Right? That's what a Starfleet captain should say in that situation.
Yeah, they're like, we can go back and save Captain Picard. Just give us a chance. He's like, don't have time. We have to destroy the Borg now. And he gives up on saving Picard.
As goofy as he is, some of the choices that Jonathan Frakes makes as an actor, so whatever. Like the character of Riker is solid. And he nails it sometimes. He really does.
Yeah, sometimes it's easy to I don't want to necessarily say criticize, but sometimes give Jonathan Frakes shit for just kind of playing schlummy chummy Riker.
Yeah.
But when he's engaged with the role, he's solid.
He really is, especially like season 3 of Picard. Kind of softened me on the character a little bit and his acting. He did a great job.
Honestly, don't mind Jonathan Frakes acting. I'm just like, maybe this is just how Riker is. This is just how he is. So yeah. I don't mind it.
yeah, this episode, of course, is awesome, and you know, when I was younger, I used to give Riker a lot of crap, and basically along the same lines that Shelby basically says, just like, makes sense why you stand in the shadow of a great man like Picard, you know, while others move on. I was like, yeah,
Oof.
yeah, he's just, well, I'm just gonna be here, and I'm not, you know.
That's the kind of thing that'll linger with a guy for like years. Stand in the shadow of another man? What does she mean?
Yeah, even when we were watching the early stuff, especially when we were in like the growing pains of Next Generation, like season 1 Riker, he's much more assertive and much more like take charge. And he seems like that hotshot commander who's like on the fast track to the captaincy.
So does she, though.
And so does she.
Yeah.
And they mentioned that too. It's like Picard kind of mentions, it's like, you know, she's a lot like you when you first came on. At this point, though, he's mellowed out a whole bunch compared to where he was in the first season. And I think for me as a kid, I was like, well, he stalled out. He's like this legendary officer. It's like, if in my mind, it was like Riker's a lot like Kirk if Kirk stalled out. That was always kind of my impression of Riker as a kid. So I always gave Riker shit. And I don't know if you remember this, Aaron, in Boy's House, the original series. We would sometimes
roast him.
Right. And we would say, like, don't be a Riker. Like it was like an epithet, just like.
God, and honestly, that destroyed me because I was a casual to TNG coming into the Boy's House, and like he was my favorite character as a kid from the episodes that I'd seen. So like, oh yeah, he's an idiot, he's dumb. Yes, that is the thing. That's interesting. Maybe that negatively impacted my opinion of Riker.
But I get it, man. I mean, I get other people wanting him to like grow and like go into other posts because he could do good there and stuff because he's a competent officer. He'd be a good captain. But also I get it. I was like, at my job, I was like, I don't want a promotion to anywhere. Just let me just keep doing what I'm doing. Like,
that's the thing.
Just
like,
fine doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, he's in the Enterprise. He's on the flagship, right? Like, why would you want to leave? It would be so hard to leave that position to go even captain your own thing, because you would know in your mind it would be like a lesser vessel.
I mean, again, there's dialogue where it's like, you've been offered the Melbourne. He's like, yeah, I've decided not to pursue it. And Picard's like, she's a fine ship, Will. And he says, yes, but she's not the Enterprise.
Right.
Like, he loves being on the Enterprise. And that's what keeps him there.
Yeah, if you're happy where you are, why should you have to like move up necessarily? You know?
So, like in the initial conversation, we were talking about kind of the extremes. Riker's kind of settling for somewhere in the middle or in the in-between, right? Like not going for full ascendancy, but not getting demoted either, like doing a great job as first officer.
But if he continues being a fine first officer and doing his performance, you know, his duties, and, you know, there's no like complaints or anything like that, I don't think that's a problem. I think it's only a problem once it starts affecting other people negatively.
Or himself.
That does not include Shelby.
Yeah, so on the flip side, so what's our feeling on, because the big counterpoint to Riker in this is Shelby. And she is very much, she's almost like ambition crystallized into a character in this. What's our feeling on Shelby? Is she too ambitious? Is she, what's our feeling on her?
I mean, I assume she's similar to how Riker used to be, but until he kind of grew more comfortable with himself and knew who he was. And so she's probably still just young and like, this is what I want, you know, and she's willing to do anything to get it, you know. And I think after maybe a few more years, maybe she'll follow, you know, mellow out a little more like Riker did. It's possible. But I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with being as ambitious as she is. Obviously, she kind of, it kind of gives her a little bit of a tunnel vision sometimes. And that's when, Riker steps in. It's just like, and Troy steps in, and it's just like, no, actually, there's more going on here than just this. Like, you need to look at all of the, all the moving parts.
What do you think, Aren? What are your thoughts on Shelby?
Gosh, the words that came to mind were over-ambitious until you said words. And now I'm questioning everything. She's Riker at a younger age, basically. Ambition crystallized, but even more so, like, just hungry, right? To get a spot, to make a move, to make a legacy, to make a mark in Starfleet. And that's totally fine. But you were right, like, other people were saying, like, Riker, like, her higher-ups, like, just go with the flow. Like, you're here because you made it, right? We see potential in you. So just chill out a little bit. But
yeah, I think it's interesting looking at Shelby. I think I agree. I don't know if she's necessarily too ambitious, though. I think she does push beyond. Like that scene that she has with Riker in the turbolift where she calls him out for essentially not being ambitious enough, and that, like, dude, you're in my way. You get where she's coming from, but also I'm like, she's basically like, if you can't cut it out here, you should step aside. I'm like, that's a little too far.
Also very, like, 80s, 90s corporate drama.
It's also silly because, like, he's there because he's a competent first officer, and he's still there because he is. If he was starting to slack, they would probably, like, force him to go somewhere else. It's not like he's out there suddenly being a terrible officer just because he's not accepting a command, like a command post, like.
Right, and of course, in the end, he's the one. She's like, "No, don't destroy the ship. I'm sure we can come up with something." He's like, "Nope, sorry." And so, when it comes down to it, he is the one who can step up and make the hard decision. And she's kind of like, "No, I can go get him." It's almost more, like, one of you said tunnel vision, and maybe there's that kind of tunnel vision with her where she's maybe a little too self-centered in her ambition. At least that's the danger with her, is that she's really riding that line of, and she sometimes crosses it, where it's more of like selfish interest than really the ambition to be the best she can be, where she's kind of like, no, I'm awesome. Whereas Riker realizes it's not about you, it's about what you can do in the situation for everyone else.
Yeah, it's not about being awesome. It's about just doing what needs to be done and, trying to get the best outcome, but still, it's not about the perfect ending.
That's what makes you awesome in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? Making the right call, not clouded by that need to compete with other people.
And I think it's because it's what Troy said. He's more seasoned. He it's just like, no, like, I would want to believe that we can go and do the captain, but this is too serious to be kind of not idealistic, but I can't think of a different word.
With this conflict between Riker and Shelby, again, even though we haven't even talked about the Borg yet, I think they both give really good performances in this, and I think they play off each other
really well.
Jonathan Frakes and Elizabeth Dennehy, who is the daughter of actor Brian Dennehy. I guess when she was filming this, she said that filming this was really hard for her. She had never watched Star Trek and kind of came in, and she's playing a very strong character, and she was like, and wearing this spacesuit and everything, she was like, I don't know how to play this. Like, she found it, and like, she's like, this language, like, because, she has some techno-babble lines in here because she's like the Borg expert, And she's like, she found it very difficult and challenging. But watching this, I'm like, I wouldn't have guessed that was the case.
Yep.
Not a second thought.
I actually love that you brought that up because I was thinking as I was watching, I was like, I wonder how much like she knows about Star Trek and stuff when she's doing this. I was like, because she's killing it. Like she seems very involved in this world, and like, so I love that you brought that up because I was exactly thinking the same thing. So yeah, she's great.
That's so crazy.
She never saw. Even when she got the role, she never watched any. She didn't have time to watch any of it. She went in completely blind.
Whoa, that's blowing my mind.
Kills it though, I think. Like kudos to her.
You would not even be able to tell.
No, nailed it. And like you see from the outside, of course, because she has such a look and such like a presence in her role. That you wouldn't give it a second thought. She just kills it. That's so interesting that she struggled so hard.
I mean, she does it so well where it's like, if they had decided we're gonna make we lost Yar, we're gonna make Shelby a character now. She is. You feel like she would just fold in with all of them really well, seamless. Even though, and maybe she would spice things up a bit, but she just seems like she could fit in so easily with this cast.
Yep. I was thinking that too. I was like, what if Riker had actually left after this and we got Shelby instead? I was like, that'd be a very interesting show.
Just like a super subtle screen test. Like, we're going to remove Jonathan Frakes. We're going to move you to a director role. We're going to bring in this new first officer.
Well, there was a lot of speculation at the time because there wasn't the same kind of internet fan culture that exists now, or at least the same just like, everything about every show before it comes out these days. Whereas back then it's like, no, like you had no idea. And so when it ended with Picard as a Borg, Riker and command as Shelby's there, a lot of fans were speculating that like is Patrick Stewart leaving the show? Like, is his contract up? And a lot of people were thinking like they were setting up Riker's going to be the lead now and Shelby's going to be the new first officer. That would be wild to see if that's how it turned out.
Gosh, I wonder what happens.
Yeah, will he come back? I guess that's a good segue into what this episode, of course, is most famous for. Though I agree, Aren, like the Borg stuff as a kid was all I ever thought about and focused on. It's like the Borg. But as I've gotten older and watched it, it's the Riker stuff that I find the most interesting.
I mean, as we've been talking about this episode, I honestly forgot the Borg were in this until you mentioned it again. And I was like, oh, that's right. It's a Borg episode.
It's a Borg episode.
That's the thing. I think that's brilliant. I just had a thought. It might be dumb. Probably is. But like the antagonistic force in a show doesn't necessarily have to be like some big epic enemy like the Borg, even though it is. It can just be like riding underneath like a pressure, right? Like a loose valve or something that's going psh the whole
they're
time.
kind of like they're like what incites the emotional conflict of the episode. And of course, by the end, there's a really nice build up to the Borg in this episode. It's not just suddenly the Borg are here. Like there's a slow escalation, and by the end, the Borg are very much now like consuming everything because Picard is a Borg. They're about to fire their weapon at the Borg. They're heading toward Earth. The Borg make their big return appearance in this episode. We first saw them in Q Who, where Q gave the crew of the Enterprise like a preview of things to come, and now this is the things to come. So now that the Borg are like officially here, what's the thought on them as an antagonist, a larger meta antagonist? How do they play in this episode?
They're terrifying.
Yeah. In this episode, they just feel like the end of the world is coming. There's this like, and the scene, I mean, we're watching it right now, that scene with Picard and Guinan where they're basically talking about the end of history, and it's like, is that, Picard's making the, he's talking about, I wonder if the Emperor Honorius truly realized that the Roman Empire was about to fall when he saw the Visigoths coming over the seventh hill.
That's an interesting conversation. Mm-hmm. He's really considering like this could be the end of the Federation. right? That's what he's asking.
Yeah.
And she's like, this is just another blip.
I love how calm and quiet the scene is. No one else in 10 forward. Lights are off.
Yeah.
I just really like it.
Very quiet. I think it's her only scene in the episode, but it's such a good scene between them. Yeah, it's funny. Picard, I mean, again, this episode is mostly remembered for this is the one where Picard gets assimilated by the Borg. He's not front and center for most of it, with a couple, like that scene with Guinan is like the big, like, that's like his biggest scene, focusing on him. Not even realizing what's about to happen to him. It's wild, again, like how little, though, aside from that scene, he's not featured in it too heavily. He's there, but this is not a Picard episode at all. By the end, like, it kind of does, just for the sake of now Picard's the bad guy.
But I mean, it's still a pretty big move to take your lead character and do that to him. So
a huge move. Yeah, that was so. Yeah, this is written by Michael Piller, who we've talked about. Is basically he's the showrunner at this point. And originally, when they were coming up with the Borg, they had to, like, ever since Q-Hood, the whole writing staff had been like, how do we bring these guys back and how do we make it interesting and cool? Because there was like while everyone really liked them, they don't have like a personality quite like, say, like the Romulans or the Klingons do. So there was a lot of, there was like, so what do we do with them? Like with these like race of like automatons, and make them interesting, not just scary, but interesting. And a lot of the writers, they wanted to do, it's like, we should do like a Queen Bee Borg. But Michael Piller was like, no, like he kept shutting it down. He's like, no, what makes them interesting is the fact that they're this giant group consciousness. But because they were really championing the idea, because they wanted to do a big cliffhanger splash for this episode. And they said, like, but how cool would it be if in the last scene we reveal this Queen Bee Borg and that's the cliffhanger? He's like, I see where you're coming from. That is a good idea. I just don't think we should do a Queen Bee. And then eventually they stumbled upon, what if it was Picard then? And then he was like, and then from that came like the whole rest of the episode. It's like, oh, and then Picard will leave. And then Riker will have to be the captain. Oh, and then so then it's going to be a Riker. I got it. It all came from figuring out what the cliffhanger was going to be. The whole rest of the episode came after. Reverse engineered, but it really works out. Like, figures out what the episode is from doing it.
Crazy, because I feel like that's how they write New Trek nowadays, but they don't.
Working backwards from.
But then they don't. They write like from about moments and then just right around it. That's what it feels like, at least to me. But then they don't really make it
go
good.
There.
It doesn't come together. It feels sloppy and put together, just like thrown together.
Is it on?
But this one was great.
Yeah. I think in the hands of a lesser show, they would just focus on the Borg plot stuff. And then these artificial, just like plot drama moments. And this is why I think Michael Piller is such a good showrunner and writer, because his whole thing was like, no, we have to find. Okay, yeah, that's the big what's happening, but it's all about how does this affect our characters, and that's what the episode is about. And the fact that this is about the emotional conflict that Riker is going through makes this such a better episode than just being about Borg invasion stuff.
Phaser battles, CGI and
like
action and
exposition and technobabble about how we defeat the Borg. I mean, there's some of that in here, but that's not really what the focus is.
There's so much this episode is literally just talking, but in a way that's like engaging and actually like moves the plot and character forward, instead of just like sitting around like in Picard and just discussing and talking about what's going on. I don't know. It's like it moves things.
Yeah, just enough babble to give context.
Yeah.
And nothing more. And then we can get back to what's actually happening.
And it lets people be smart. I just like it. It lets people actually be smart, multiple people working together as a team, which I feel a lot is also lacking in other things where it just focuses on, like, I don't know.
Yeah, everyone gets to have, even though it's so focused on Riker, everyone gets to have a little moment or two in this. Crusher figuring out how to, like, weaken the Borg so they'll get out of warp. Wesley, you know, coming up with, like, the main deflector dish as the way to do it with Geordi and everything. Everyone gets to have little kind of, and they just feel like such a cohesive team.
Yeah, and it just feels so natural too. So, you know, nothing like contrived, written just to, like, give them screen time. Like, it's like they're there for a reason.
Yeah, and like I said, like, this really does feel like a culmination of kind of everything we've been looking at as they've been kind of, okay, we're gonna take what the show was in season 1 and we're gonna turn it into this, and it's like everything feels much more comfortable. They're not as stiff anymore. They have certainly raised the stakes of the show, and they have really honed in, though, like, focusing on, like, the characters in all that, and then watching the interplay between them all as they work to solve it. Like, at this point, it just feels so
Natural.
well, here's the show.
Oh.
And it feels so, like, almost effortless. And you watch this episode and it's like, it's a huge episode. It's very ambitious. And you can tell it's like, this would have been a big thing to produce in 1990 for television. You watch it though, and it feels so effortless. This episode in particular, like the writing, the production. I mean, because, like, all the shots with the Borg, in the interior of the Borg, the stuff in the nebula, all the technical stuff is working really well. Just everything just feels on point in this episode. It's hard to think of any.
And timed. Yeah.
The pacing, how they build it, just everything. Like, I don't necessarily want to say flawless, but it's hard to come up with, like, a major criticism or critique. I'm like,
It's just immaculate.
Immaculate. Yeah, so like we said, this is considered to be one of the all-time greats. Like I said, this is maybe a top 10er of the whole franchise, if not higher.
I wouldn't put it in the top 10, but I still think it's a good episode.
Even if it's not a personal top 10, do you think it still warrants the intention and legacy it has?
Especially, yeah, well, considering the impact it had,
Right.
then yeah.
You could argue you could maybe argue that this is the single most impactful episode of the entire Star Trek franchise. And maybe if you were just going by impact, this could get the number 1 spot.
Yeah.
It feels like there's a whole different franchise after this episode.
There's a whole group of people that had never seen Star Trek before TNG that just watched their captain get assimilated by the Borg, right?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. What a cliffhanger.
Yeah, and a lot of the, like, behind the scenes and everything, like the writers and everyone, like, after this, like, came out, and this was the season finale, but after this came out, everyone said everything changed after that. It's like suddenly everyone was talking about this show. And it's like, did you see that episode? Did you see that episode? Like, it's easy to take stuff like this for granted now, but in the 1990 television landscape, seeing an episode like this would have been like, oh, damn. Like, what is this show? So they basically said, like, yeah, after this, it basically catapulted this show into, like, mainstream, like, popularity. Suddenly everyone in, like, the broader TV landscape, everyone was talking about this show now, because of this episode.
Some Game of Thrones epicness.
Any final thoughts at all?
She's got a full head of steam, doesn't she?
Some of his lines and line deliveries.
Oh, man.
Like you said, it's like, somehow he makes a lot of these lines there's like a wink of inappropriate behind it.
Good thing Data's there to be neutral. Like, yes, that was a sentence. That's all.
Aren, any final thoughts on the best of both worlds?
No, just I'm looking forward to the next one, especially because it's the Wolf 359 stuff.
A couple last little bits of behind the scenes. So, Michael Piller only had a contract for a year, so he himself was considering leaving the show at this point. And literally his own personal conflict of whether or not he should stay on the show is in this episode. He basically put himself in this episode.
Can you imagine writing this episode and then just being like, peace, and then dipping? Like, this is your problem now.
That's how he wrote it. That's how he wrote it. There was like, we did not have the resolution to this. He basically like, because he thought, I'm done after this. So he does come back and continues to run the show for a few years. At the time, though, he basically wrote this impossible situation. It's like, well, someone else will figure it out.
Yeah, he could have done the funniest thing ever. But also, I'm glad that he came back.
Yeah, he does have to come back and figure out how to wrap it all up.
Ha ha.
Patrick Stewart has a funny story. I mean, along the same kind of stuff of like the show blowing up. He was like out driving around in LA, and like I think they were at a stoplight. I could be remembering the story wrong, but he's at a stoplight, another car pulls up, and the person in the car sees that it's Patrick Stewart, and he's just like, "You ruined my summer."
Yeah.
I guess this episode had double size orchestra for this one, which contributes to the music being a bit more epic in this one. Yeah.
Well, it's like
with the synth choir.
Oh yeah, it's eerie and it's unique. It really helps with the whole feeling, especially with the Borg. Like, especially when like the beginning when they see the crater and you hear the music start playing for the first time. It's like, oh, this is something special.
On that little Borg motif, because like it's right at the beginning when the episode starts, when he's giving his captain's log, and it's just this little, and then as the episode's going on, it's getting a little more, and then of course you have that by the end. Okay. Well, thank you for listening, everyone. This was really good. Thank you, Aren, for coming on and talking about Best of Both Worlds with us.
I'll be back.
Thank you. And oh no.
Yes, of course, you will be back. As of course, next week, we are going to be watching the Best of Both Worlds, Part 2. And yes, Aren will be here watching it with us.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yes, we are actually just going to watch it right now. But all of you at home, we're going to have to wait a whole week.
You're giving away the secrets.
No.
The movie magic.
It can be really tricky paying off these big, huge cliffhangers. So I guess next week we'll see if they pull it off in part 2. Oh boy. All right. Well, until next week, we will see you all later. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to share us your own Star Trek story, you can email us at storiedstartrek@gmail.com, or you can visit our Discord server. You can find us by clicking on the link in the show description.